Hi, today I'm going to talk about inquiry-based learning. And it's such a big topic, I feel that there's, so much to talk about that I could be talking about this all day and night. But I want to make this short and sweet because, we don't have all the time in the world, right? And we want to talk about it and we want to learn about it and we want to be objective about this. So, what is inquiry-based learning? So it is triggering curiosity. It is activating students' knowledge, integrating content, and making real life connections. So when I look at my list right in front of me, I'm thinking, wow, we should be doing more of that. So if it's connecting real life experiences for students, integrating content, and activating students' knowledge, integrating curiosity, why are we not doing this? Or maybe we are, we just don't know that we're doing it, right? So let's do more of that. Let's explore this a little bit more. All right, so I would say the best way to do this lesson is to have, a notebook and a pen or a pencil, okay? Go ahead and write down some notes as you go along, and so you can refer back to those notes as you go. All right, so let's do this. So what is inquiry-based learning? So I would say curiosity, triggering curiosity, activating students' knowledge, integrating content, making real life connections. Those four main things. And feel free to pause your video at any time, all right, to write things down. Now, what are some of the 4 steps of inquiry-based learning? Okay, I got this from Edutopia. It's a great website. We're going to actually watch a video from here in our exit ticket today, all right? So it's going to be kind of like a 2-step process, so it's going to be great. So the 4 steps for inquiry-based learning. So first thing, we're going to teach students about developing questions, right? So first, you're going to teach them how to develop questions, levels of questioning. So number 1, you need to understand those levels of questioning, right? We can go with Bloom's taxonomy. Those are very famous, ways of going about that. And then also Costa's taxonomy, our levels of questioning, right? So you need to understand those levels of questions, right? And then that way you can teach them. Now, you're going to help them develop their questions that they're going to be like wanting to answer. So if they're hungry to answer those questions, they're going to do a great job. Have them develop a problem statement that requires them to pitch their question using a constructed response, more inquiry, citation. They're going to have to research about that. Okay, so a great idea would be a world problem, something that they want to solve. Okay, something about their community, for example. All right. 2, research the topic using time in class. So if you do everything at home, sometimes students don't have time or space to be doing that research at home. So you're going to have to give them time in class. Give them, a computer, give them materials, give them what they need to work on that. All right, give them also guidance on how to do that. Scaffold that process so they can make sure that they are doing very good research. Teach them how to quote research, not only copy from the website or the book. Okay, those are very important skills. 3, have students present what they've learned. So now that's your turn to be very inclusive here. Your diverse learners can be using the 4 domains of language to present. So you can incorporate reading, speaking, listening, and writing in different ways. So they can present, they can use all 4 modalities of language to do their presentation. Presentations are great ways to show what they've learned. They can write, they can read, or they can read first, then they can write about it, right? They can listen to others while they're presenting, and they're learning that, they're acquiring language, and then they can speak about it. So it's a very active, productive language, right? And for ELLs, English language learners, they're going to have that opportunity to really get to develop those 4 domains of language as they go. All right. So have a rubric for them, you know, what what you're expecting them to do, and they're going to get there. So if they know what they're supposed to do, they'll get there. All right. They can develop a website. You can have a learning menu for them. They can click on those. They can have options on what they can do as their final project. They can develop a website using Weebly, for example, or using Google Slides. They can have a slideshow. They can use paper. I mean, if we're talking about online learning, then you might want to do an online menu for them. But if you're talking about in-person school, then maybe you can have more hands-on projects with paper and pencil and glue and crafts and things like that. All right. And number 4, the 4th step is ask students to reflect on what worked about the process and what didn't. So reflection is a very, very important step on inquiry-based learning, because then they can really, really think about what they would do differently next time, what didn't work, their opinion about their project, their learning, not only about the topic that they studied, but how they did that whole learning, right? It's a true reflection of the process, okay? The thinking about thinking, what we call the metacognition, okay? And also how they work as a group, individually, with a partner, if it's a group of 4, do they work well? With their close partner, they work well. Individually, do they do their part? So maybe you can have some goals for them. All right, awesome. Now, you need to teach them the levels of questioning, right? So students learn to think critically when you teach them those questions. How do you come up with questions? How do you start that thinking process? So you're gonna teach them higher level thinking questions so that they can get to that deep level of understanding and knowledge and make those connections that you want them to make. So when they understand the levels of thinking and questioning, they will know how to answer the questions that they want to answer, right? So what is the COSAS level of thinking, right? So they are actually a framework for inquiry. This framework helps students ask thought-provoking questions about academic content, make connection among concepts, and deepen understanding of their content that they're learning. It can be math, it can be science, it can be social studies, it can be technology, whatever topic they're learning about, right? It can be chemistry. It doesn't matter what age. It can be in a preschool context too. It could be early learners, right? It doesn't matter. Inquiry-based is inquiry-based. It can be just orally, but they're learning to ask questions. Now, the levels of thinking, if you're thinking about a house, level 1 would be gathering, what they call gathering information. So words that you could use to come up with a question would be describe, observe, define, list, select, identify, recite, or complete. Those would be the beginning words for your questions or statements, right? Number 2, the middle level of your house would be your second level of the thinking. So it would be compare, contrast, sort, infer, analyze. You see how it's like more difficult? Classify, explain why, right? I always explain why. And then the third one would be applying. Bloom's taxonomy, for example, would be creation, right? Creating a product, creating something that they have to really analyze and think and produce. So the same with COSA's thinking levels. It's the same. You can compare both of them. So number 3 is applying. So you would be evaluating, judging a project or an idea. If, then, so those ideas, cause and effect, generalizing, predicting, hypothesizing, imagining, speculating, forecasting. Those are high level words that you're gonna have to teach your students about and why they're thinking that way. So that way they're creating scenarios and creating ideas and solving things that they want to know about, solving problems, solving those mysteries about real life scenarios, real life connections that I talked about in the beginning of this class. All right. Now, just to wrap up here, level 1 is the gathering level. So if I were to say, oh yeah, how do they find the answer to their question? So the answer is on the page. If they were reading a text, oh, the answer should be right there. I can point to the answer. It would be an easy answer. Level 2 would be processing. They can read between the lines. The answer can be drawn from multiple places in the text, from multiple texts. Have to manipulate what is in the text to form my answer. And level 3, it's not on the page. It would be a difficult answer to find. You'd have to think about that. So if you were to give them texts, let's say you want them to really think about what they're reading to come up with the answer, you would have to be like, okay, you really have to understand and interpret what you're reading. So that would be level 3, applying what they've learned from that text. It's off the page. It's not there. They're not going to find it. They can read that piece of paper and be like, oh, let me read it again. And they read it again, and they read it again, and they have to make, conclusions, draw conclusions from that. And how can you apply the answer somewhere else and give an academic opinion about what they've read? It's not just like, oh yeah, the answer is right there. An example would be like, what's the character's name? You couldn't really just say, oh yeah, the character's name is John because it's on page 1 of my book. That would be a level 1 question, but you really wouldn't want to ask that, right? With text evidence. You would want to say, why would John feel that way about going to the woods? Like something that it couldn't really be just finding in the text. Maybe the book is about going to the beach, and then you're making a connection to, going to a different place, like the woods. So something completely different, far from the reality of what they were doing, so that they can make a connection, give an opinion, and apply their knowledge to something else. Does that make sense? So you want your kids to be applying that knowledge. To solidify that, after looking at this and looking at the little house, so gathering, processing, and applying, and knowing that you want your students to be following the 4 steps, right? I want you to follow this link that is posted already on our page, our classroom page, okay? And you're going to go here, and here's your assignment, okay? You're going to, let me make sure that you can see my page right here. Yes, you can. I want you to make sure that you can see this, right? Here's your assignment. You're going to watch this video below right here. If you click on it, it's gonna start playing. This is a Padlet page for you. You're gonna watch the video, and then you're going to click plus right here, and you're going to record a video response by clicking on that sign. You're going to create a response right here. You're gonna drag it, put title. You're gonna say video response by so-and-so. Have your name there. You're going to record your response, right? And then you're going to comment on 3 classmates' videos as you make connections from your point of view as an educator. So as you watch people's responses to this video in the next few days, you're going to come back to this and then write what you're thinking and your opinion about what they've said about the video. Okay, the video is actually pretty awesome. It's called Putting Students in Charge of Their Learning Journey. It's excellent. It's about inquiry-based learning. It's about having them think. And it's about having them be in charge. All right? So once you're done with all this, then we can talk about more inquiry-based learning the next time we meet. All right? Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Bye-bye.